Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. My voice is so sick, but I wanted to get this out for you. I have DIY'd a modern dog bed that any of you can do with some mini hairpin legs that I've linked below for you for this chunk of mine. Everyone's fur babies are different sizes, but you do want to cut down 2 pieces of wood to be the exact same size. So that is 22.5 for me, which is going to create the sides of the bed. And then the back is going to be how long your bed is, and mine is 33.5. I adjusted my miter saw to 45 degrees and cut down one end of the side pieces to be 45 degrees, but both ends of that back piece, so it creates 90 degrees when you put it all together. You can kind of start to see the bed form once you put these pieces together. You'll also see there's a dado joint. I'm going to teach you this. I did some off camera because it was my first time and my router wasn't working, so I actually did it on my table saw. Let me explain. I clamped down my fence and a piece of wood on the opposite side so I don't move my wood too much. It's going to be the guideline of how much I need to be cutting from side to side. That way it is the thickness of the piece of wood I want to shimmy into that dado. I lower the blade to be also the depth of how much I want that wood to go into this dado, and then I run the piece of wood starting up against the fence and moving slowly to the piece of wood that I clamped to cut out all of this material to create the joint itself. I lined up all the pieces to ensure the dados were nice and straight, which they were. I have a space towards the bottom because I will be adding a frame, as I do not want the plywood to bow out over time with Callie laying on it. She is a 40-pound chunk. I measured the space between the boards and cut out a piece of plywood that I had on hand to create the base of the bed. I do have some tips on how to use a circular saw. I'll link it in a card for you right here, but then this is a piece of plywood I've used for a previous project, so I went ahead and sanded it down with a 60 grit to remove all the paints on the side. The bottom I don't really care about, you're not going to see, but I wanted to be able to stain the top. And when you shimmy it into place, voila, look at that. It's time to glue this guy together, and typically I would just use regular clamps, but I decided to invest in a Bessie strap clamp because I am moving on to more projects like this where this clamp in particular will be way more useful than the other ones in my opinion, and so I was really excited to give it a go. I added glue where the wood was touching or will be touching when you're putting it together, put the pieces together roughly, looped my Bessie strap clamp around with the corner aids that I have available, and just tightened it and let it sit. I really fell in love with this clamp because when you're checking your angles with your speed square, you're able to tighten or loosen and adjust actually way easier than the other clamps that I have from Bessie, but I also have really gnarly heavy duty clamps. I decided to use my pin nailer, so it's a very small hole, just to add a little bit of security. I did want to do the dowel method where you drill and hammer in the dowels, but I broke the wood 4 times over, so I just kind of settled for the pin nailer. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to add a frame on the bottom because I don't want the plywood to bow out, bow down over time as she's sleeping on it. I've done a ton of videos on frames, so I'm just going to link my old dog bed video so you can get a more in-depth tutorial. But I did secure it from this time, I think because in the old video I secured it from the bottom up, which is so dangerous for your dog. I did it from the platform into the frame and then decided to use these mini hairpin legs and just screw those into each corner. And they were so damn cute. I did want to route the edges, but if you saw my Instagram stories, my router was broken and I've never even used it. It was brand new. So frustrating. So I just used my random orbital sander to smooth out the edges. Alright, I apologize for the lighting. It is totally ugly outside. It's been raining and thunderstormy. Ugh. Here's the bed. I'm gonna add a second piece right here to cover all of that schmegola right there, but I want to stain it first. Started off by brushing on a dark walnut because that basically fits any single room in the house if I were to move it around. I cut out a piece of wood, a super thin piece that I actually used for my DIY laundry floating shelves, and then just used my pin nailer to secure it to the front and a little bit of wood glue. I went in with a second coat, but a Kona stain, and then I used a spar urethane exterior because it's just weatherproof, and if I want to move it around to wherever I won't have to be concerned. Out with the old in my bathroom because I think she needed an upgrade, and in with the new with a DIY cushion since I couldn't find a bed that was that size. I gotta do some more research. So we got 2 really cute feet happening here. We have these feet.
but then we got to his feet.
Slowly but surely, as I'm trying to film my B-roll, this dog is sinking into this bed more and more, which is just the cutest thing in the world. She was about to legit fall asleep. And look at that precious little face. I'm just so pumped on the build, and I hope that you guys aren't intimidated to give it a go either.
That's the nap sigh of approval.
I have a couple of really exciting projects coming out, but I really want to know what you want to see more of, because yes, I can keep DIYing for my house, but I just don't know if that's going to translate consistently into what you guys are doing. Leave some feedback down below, and I will catch you next Wednesday for another DIY. Thanks guys, see you then.